public, Department of Public Utilities. You want to start with water pollution control, or you want to do public admin?
Your preference, Chairman, but I believe administration will be
Do you have,
quick.
do you have a presentation?
I do
for it?
not.
Okay, all right, we'll start with administration.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the committee. Marty Kane, Director of Public Utilities. With us this morning, our Assistant Commissioner Ryan Lopez, Water Pollution Control, Commissioner Ramona Lowry Farrell, Division of Water Pollution Control, Executive Commissioner Danielle Graham, Public Utilities, and Catherine Troy, CFO for Public Utilities. First, thank you for the opportunity for the operational review hearings and reviews that we've been going through. The Utilities General Administration, and I don't have a presentation because historically we've been kind of staying consistent with the budget presentations where we fully brief council on the accomplishments of each respective division. Utilities General Admin is not in the charter, so it's different than Fiscal Control, which you did get a presentation for, but it's similar to Fiscal Control as General Administration is the non-financial support for all the divisions. HR, IT, risk, and we also support Channel 20 and the Photo Lab by way of reimbursement on an annual basis. So operationally and budgetarily speaking, consistent with 2023, or 2024, we anticipate to be consistent with 2023, other than student trainees, which we will be transferring onto our budget from water pollution control in an effort to better consolidate and identify how we utilize student trainees. The general administration has evolved over the years as the support arm, as all of three divisions, all 1,100 employees, all 1.4 million customers are supported generally through Utilities General Admin, and headcount has remained the same. I do appreciate all of the team members of the Department of Public Utilities General Admin, as with all the respective divisions. I always have to say that. They work hard for our customers and for the city of Cleveland, and usually make my job easier. So I appreciate them, but as far as accomplishments, we continue to support what you've heard from the Division of Water, Division of Cleveland Public Power, and the Division of Fiscal Control, and what you will hear today from Commissioner Lowry Farrell with the Division of Water Pollution Control. That is the role of General Admin, and we work hard to do that. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Director, how many full-time employees are you budgeted for public admin?
In General Admin, we're
Admin.
in 2023, we were budgeted for 74, and we closed, we're right around 56 currently.
All right, so we're about 20 down.
Correct.
All right.
And that can primarily be attributed to IT, as all of us are struggling to fill those very technical positions. And Margaret's shop in Public Affairs is light. Also in risk, we have a couple environmental specialists that we're actively trying to recruit, but that would be where I would attribute the 20 vacancies.
All right, and then one other question on the budget. As I'm looking at it, how are you guys doing in staying within your budgeted amount?
Chairman, in General Administration, Troy makes sure that we stay within the budgeted amount. Two of the things that we have put some effort into is, again, through Public Affairs, Communications, Margaret's shop, Margaret Jackson, the chief is in the back. With a lot of our sponsorships and advertising, we're kind of consolidating that into General Admin so we can better support the divisions respectively. We don't want each division to be on the forefront of specific sponsorship opportunities and advertising opportunities. And then the travel and subscription budget, we are still within budget, but you will see when the budgets come out in 2024 an increase. That's just post-pandemic training for the commissioners and all those, what are they, memberships.
All right, and then one last thing from me, Director. Just go over again who admin oversees.
So Public Utilities General Administration would be my staff, predominantly like 6 people. But then Public Affairs Communications, Chief Margaret Jackson is budgeted at 15 people. IT, 12 people. HR, I don't know how many people off the top of my head, unfortunately. Risk 8 employees. Fleet management, DPU-wide, 2 employees. TV-20, currently budgeted at 12 employees, but there will be a request in 2024 for an additional reporter, producer for General Manager Kathy Allen, and then the Photo Lab has 3.
All right, and then you mentioned, and I'm going to ask this as a precursor for something that could come up in the future, but we talked about it yesterday in transportation. DPU has their own human resources department, correct?
Chairman, that's correct.
But you do not have your own civil service department for hiring. You have to hire through the city's, this building's, through the city's civil service.
Chairman, that's correct.
All right, thank you. That's all the questions I have. Any questions for DPU General Admin? Councilwoman Spencer.
Thank you, Chairman Casey. Glad that the budget information has been provided. It's very helpful. I wanted to ask about a couple of line items here. For example, through the chair, travel budgeted $37,000, but it looks like year-to-date expenditure was fairly low. So I'm wondering about travel as a line item when it's utilized, and if it was so low this year, is there an anticipated budget adjustment for 2024?
Thank you, Chairman, to the council members. So travel is one of those things we've maintained the budgeted amount through the pandemic. There are more of these conferences that are in person. However, there are still some that are virtual optional. So if they are, and a lot of the commissioners are very active in these national organizations where they sit on subcommittees, but if there is a virtual option, we do still prefer it. But it's getting to be more and more where they're in person. So we did not want to adjust the budget for 2024 in anticipation or preparation for if those virtual options become in person, then it would cost us more money.
Thank you. Through the chair, can you, just out of curiosity, give an example of one of those types of associations that would be?
AWWA, OP, I know the numbers through the chairman to the
Public
council
Works
member, but I would defer to the commissioner who is the member and active in the subcommittees, or the executive commissioner. I don't go.
So through the chair, through the council member, American Public Works Association is one, American Water Works Association, WEFTEC, National Forum for Black Public Administrators, National Society of Black, NSBE, ICMA, there's a ton. And
Okay.
there's a ton we don't attend as well.
Got it.
Thank you.
Another question through the chair in regards to budget, professional services budgeted at $210,000, and it looks like the year-to-date expenditures were very low. So again, curious whether there might be a budget adjustment in 2024 based on, and when does the Utilities Administration need to make use of professional services would be the corollary question.
Through the
Director.
chairman to the council member, typically those are either the city-wide initiatives or DPU-specific initiatives with software through HR or the scanning opportunity. We're trying to get more digital. Unfortunately, we did not reach those goals in 2023 to digitize as the City Hall and the General Fund are going on similar initiatives. We're trying to very closely align what softwares we will evolve into. So we're going to continue to budget. We do anticipate it to remain about there, and it hasn't been spent because they haven't been finalized yet, but it is still our effort to digitize, modernize both the HR functions, the training, and safety. So our safety videos, we're looking to upgrade that into a platform where we will be able to regularly monitor employees' participation and then know who did do it, didn't do it. So we're looking to upgrade those 3 primary functions, and that would fall under professional services.
Okay, and then one final question. I'm interested in I didn't realize how many vacant positions there were in the public relations office under Ms. Jackson through the chair? Is that the correct title?
Through the chair to the council member, Public Affairs
Public Affairs,
Communications.
Communications.
There has been a number of people who transitioned off. We have postings currently in a number, one specifically at WPC, which I'm sure the commissioner will, but we're looking to fill those continuously.
And I am curious, I mean, I know several folks by name that the council typically works with. I'm curious to know why 15 positions are needed in that
Director?
office.
At Public Affairs, so they do, under Chief Jackson's shop, they do all of the events, which during the summertime averages about 15 a week, which is significant. They do the sponsorships, they do the visual, video and photography for the Division of Public Utilities. And then there is staff that staffs the Council of Governance. So we have other entities of suburban mayors, which we regularly meet with and brief. So we have that within Public Affairs Communications, all of our media relations. So for each division, Commissioner is supposed to have 2, currently has 1. CPP would be the same. Water's a little bigger with the amount of media relations that we do. But yeah, that's kind of what Margaret does.
Okay, and to make sure I understand then, when we see, that is a significant number of events, but it's appreciated having the city out interacting with the public. So when we see, for example, water, the famous water buggy out there, those employees are under Public Affairs Communications, not the Division of Water, through the chair in terms of the events?
Through the chair to the council member, it would be both because of the volume. We do, Margaret's has, I think, 4 staff who probably would be there. But then we also, throughout all the divisions, have a training protocol for other employees who would volunteer for those evenings and weekends. So it's a speakers bureau.
Okay.
Sorry. Is that what it's called? Speakers bureau?
Some of us
good.
on the same day.
And Director, again, this isn't just for the city of Cleveland, this is for 3 counties and 88 cities that want everybody, want the Division of Water or some entity there all the time, correct?
We are very appreciative of Chief Jackson and her team.
Okay, understood. Councilman Harsh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple questions through the chair to the director, commissioner. Director. Is the Department of General Admin funded through the general fund, or is that part of the enterprise fund?
It's entirely, through the chairman and the council member, entirely in the enterprise fund.
It's in the enterprise fund, okay. And I understand through the chair that enterprise funds are basically, utilities are run at cost. It's not a for-profit entity, so revenues raised are used to provide services to customers. And when you went through the list of employees per department, I think you came up to about 58. Through the chair, what are the missing 18 positions that are available for hire?
Director.
So, and I don't, off the top of my head, as I said, through the chairman of the council member, we probably 5 in IT. Well, I'm not going to say numbers, I guess, but IT is a heavy voids right now that we're seeking throughout the division. Public Affairs Communications in Chief Jackson's shop. IT, the risk, which is our safety and security compliance throughout the divisions. That's the OSHA compliance. Hazmat, I believe, is still 2 vacancies, which are very specialized, but we regularly look for. Channel 20.
And through the chair, that was budgeted at 12. Were they at 12?
I believe they're at 10. Do you know, Troy? I believe through the chairman of the council member, they're at 9.
I see. Okay. That was my only question. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Councilman Polensek.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues, to the director. It's good to see everybody here at the table. What is the, explain, what do we rent? The rental payment in
Through
here?
the chairman of the council member, that would be for Channel 20 and the Photo Lab. They rent in public auditorium, and that rate has remained consistent.
So, I want to look at that. So the public auditorium charges utilities $118,000?
That's through the chairman of the council member. just from my notes from last year, approximately $80,000 for TV 20 and $40,000 for photo. It looks like it has remained consistent since 2020.
So
That's correct.
So then this what we call the city photo lab falls under your shop?
Through the chairman to the council member, from a fiduciary standpoint, like financial standpoint, the photo lab and TV 20 are fully reimbursed to the Department of Public Utilities through the cable franchise fees.
Okay.
So those funds, while reflected as a line item expense, would be reflected under miscellaneous income,
Where's
which
that at?
traditionally,
Which-
so under revenues, I just pulled,
Okay.
in case there were budget questions, I just pulled last year's budget book.
Yeah, okay.
I don't have what you're looking at in front of me, but it would be under miscellaneous revenues, typically around $2 million a year historically,
And
at
that's-
least for the last 4
And
years.
that's what comes in from the cable operator?
Through the chairman of the council member, that's correct.
Okay. Okay, I'm just trying to get a better understanding of how that's functioning. Okay, that's my questions, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
All right, any other questions for DPU General Admin? All right, thank you very much. Director, do you want to do the legislation now that we have a quorum, or do you want to go right into WPC? We'll go right into WPC then real quick.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman and the committee. It's a privilege to, again, introduce Commissioner Lowry Farrell, whose team is mighty, who does a wonderful service to our customers and the residents of the city of Cleveland. They work hard. They pride themselves on being responsive to our residents and to certainly our council members. And I will just hand it off to the commissioner. Thank you.
How do you advance the slide?
Ask a dinosaur.
It's John, give it to the young guy.
Everybody know how this works? Shut it off, shut it back on.
If you turn it on, it works better.
There we go. All right. Good morning to the chair. This morning, Water Pollution Control, we're going to just give a brief overview of specifics related to our financial information, operational metrics, and we'll advance to the next slide. Here, I'm not going to read I will not go verbatim on our mission, vision. There are a couple things here I would, however, like to highlight that I've been very pleased with this year. The director mentioned earlier our high school apprenticeship program. WPC has had the opportunity to have 2 different cohorts there, and students graduate directly from various Cleveland Municipal School District schools and transition right to the workforce. So we're very proud about that program. We've also had the opportunity recently to participate for a National Forum for Black Public Administrators, did a Public Administrators Day, and we had students there. Also, we're just recently at East Tech for recruiting purposes, and we'll soon be at the ACE Day Architectural Construction Engineering Program, which is also geared towards Cleveland Public School students as well. And so that has been something that we're very pleased with. Also, the educational trailer, I don't know if anyone has had the opportunity to see that just yet. You mentioned the water buggy, but the educational trailer looks way better than the water buggy. Although we go out together, because once they walk through our fabulous educational trailer, they do need a glass of water. And so,
Nice.
so we've also, when we were actually at the sewer districts, which I know they had over 3,000 people, we were at their open house, which was one place we showcased our trailer. We had people in from Dayton and other states that were viewing other places outside of Cleveland that were actually videoing the trailer just to see how to put something like that together. So I would encourage you guys to come. The next time, it will probably be with the weather, is at our own Public Works Week is when we'll showcase it again. And so we'll just advance to the next slide here. This was to the other councilman's question had asked. All of WPC and Public Utilities is part of the Enterprise Fund. And so funds are used in a manner similar to private business enterprises by user fees for the general public. Here, this is a question that we get often, is water pollution control, Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, what is the difference of the two? And so that is why we have this slide here, just to share the information, to highlight that WPC is responsible for managing the sanitary sewage and stormwater collection system, with the key word here being collection system. Collection system is what's in your street. The example I always like to use to compare the two agencies, that although we do work close together and need one another, we get the waste to them. So that is part of your collection system, the sewer that would reside in your street. We, however, do not have wastewater treatment facilities, as does the sewer district. And so the same way, if you think about from a rubbish perspective, none of you take your trash to the landfill. You take it to the curb. So that's the same as part of the collection system. We get it to the curb, and then you can go to the next slide. And so you get it to the curb, and then the sewer district gets it to the wastewater treatment facility, where they also do the cleaning before it's released back. And so this picture here just shows what I'm talking about, WPC's responsibility. Typically, what I tell residents, the easiest is to understand is curb to curb. So if if the resident has a test tee, that is their responsibility. So we are responsible in the street. The next slide here just shows the accounts that we have currently, and then we'll go to the next slide and talk about, this is another, just an expansion of what we are responsible for. So when you see the equipment out there, the guys are busy maintaining all of this infrastructure. So you see here over 14 miles of sewer lines. We have 11 pump stations. So in addition to physically putting their eyes on the station, they also, SCADA is computer-based, so we have iPads that we're looking at. Over 43,000 catch basins, which generates quite a few calls, but they are out there. We have house connection inspectors. They're out daily on a preventative maintenance, trying to be proactive and inspect the catch basins before we get those pleasant calls. We also have over 280 house connections that we're responsible for, detention basins, and the outfalls that have a contract with the county that actually does those inspections for us. Not on here, which has been one of Casey's favorite this year, the Councilman Casey's favorite, is the underpasses. We have over 40 underpasses, and we have a collaboration with the Streets Department for those. In addition to us inspecting them on a weekly basis, they are swept a couple times a week with Street Department. They have our whole schedule, and so they are regularly swept. So the next slide here, just a snapshot of our financial state currently. And as you see, based on all the A's there, that is an indication that WPC is basically, we're currently at a strong bond rating. So we're in a good position there. Also, you can see that the large part of our budget, over 38%, does go to capital expenditures. Briefly here, you'll just see, just want to say another thank you to council, because we were before you in 2021 for rate increases. We want to thank you for that. That has helped us to be able to continue to address our division's needs, to do lovely projects as we see out there on West 130th and some other streets that are coming. There will be a lot of projects coming up when the weather breaks. So there's contracts that just haven't been finalized yet, but WPC will be busy, so we do thank you for that. Here's just a snapshot that shows our makeup here. As you see, we are heavy on the male side. Most of us are Cleveland residents, including my deputy commissioner and I, so we are proud Cleveland residents. And so we have a pretty diverse group at WPC. I won't spend too much time here. I did speak about our apprentice program earlier. The young man on the left, I'll highlight, he just obtained his commercial driver's license, which that is he came in from Bard Academy, so he was part of the first apprentice cohort. The young man to the right was the second cohort out of Glenville. But proud of both. He has been very excited about obtaining his commercial driver's license. He plans, actually it just posted through civil service for a sewer maintenance unit leader position. So he has applied, he's very excited and ready. He's been with the division for over 4 years now. And so it is very heartwarming to me. I listen to the radio all day to hear him on the radio and just to see the growth over the 4 years. So we're very happy about the 2-year program with our apprenticeship and looking to add more this year that we're currently recruiting for. Here, we have over 37 employees that make up our customer service and administrative staff, and the bullets are in order of how the workflow goes for them, where the calls are received from our customer service department, then we have a dispatch department, then we have house connection inspector, which is the young man that you see there. Those are our first responders, we call them. So when we get a call, we don't stop a crew like, okay, you got to close this hole up right quick and go there. So the house connection inspectors are our ears and eyes. They're available 24/7 if needed. So when we get those pleasant calls at 1 in the morning, these are the gentlemen that are going out to investigate and determine, do we need to get a crew in? Is it something that can wait? Or is it not even a WPC issue, which that happens quite a bit. And so whatever it is, it's just convenient and very nice to have that ability to have them go out there and respond. We collaborate with other departments. Public Works, for example, that does not have inspectors. So they may have a situation. Cleveland Water, they work 24/7. We don't necessarily have someone there, but we all collaborate and work together to try to make sure under an hour that we're responding to the residents' calls that we receive. Additionally, we have over 100 employees for our special equipment and construction staff, and that too is in order. Their entry-level position would be your sewer service worker. As I indicated earlier, if you are promoted to a sewer maintenance unit leader, that's the next step. And so that is 2 years sewer service worker experience and then a commercial driver's license. And so that has often been a little stopping point for us, where we don't have as many that do have the commercial driver's license. So we've been in training in-house and now going outside because the law changed last February where you can no longer train in-house, unfortunately. But you do have, for every sewer maintenance unit leader, for one sewer maintenance unit leader, you can hire 4 sewer service workers. And so that is very helpful to us to be able to promote for that. After that, an employee has the opportunity to be promoted to a sewer maintenance unit leader operator. So those are who's dispersed to the jet vacs that you see, the big trucks, the jet clean and flush the sewer, or they may run the TV equipment, which helps us to pinpoint and identify issues right away, or they are on the vac calls that are cleaning out the catch basin. So just a big vacuum cleaner. The gentleman here is one of our bricklayers, and he has an assistant that helps him, bricklayer helper. So they have the pleasure, as you see him, and that hole, you kind of see where the curb is when there's an issue or brickwork that needs to be completed. The construction equipment operator are actually our backhoe operator. So for any manual digging that can't happen, then they use their heavy equipment for that. And we spoke earlier on the apprentices. Here you'll see kind of just some of the metrics and that we have for ourselves with the sewers that were cleaned this year. We cleaned over 148,000 feet, sewers televised over 134, and house connection repairs over 220 on the city side. Engineering staff, of course, I have to highlight the ladies. We have 2 other civil engineers besides myself, so 3 female civil engineers at WPC that you see there, Jennifer and Cecilia. And our engineering department is broken up pretty much into construction and planning. And so they do it all from inspecting jobs that are happening, and you'll see a lot of the engineers out on site as the work takes place this upcoming year. As I said, we're going to have a lot of projects going on. So we have an engineer on site for those types of projects and make sure the contractors are doing as directed. So they're involved with public reviews, private reviews for any development, and the city as well. In addition to that, we have, earlier I mentioned the pump station section that is out daily to inspect the pump stations. So they have electrician to assist, machinists, and a machinist unit leader on that team as well. And lastly, some of this I've kind of touched on earlier, just to show the number of calls that we received this year. Some of the calls that you see, over 3,000, were during normal hours, and over 150 for the outside of business hours. So that would have been the gentleman on the slide that I indicated was a house connection inspector. So those are the calls that they receive after hours and would have had to report in to assist. The catch basin cleaning, you might remember earlier we had that up. So we were able to clean close to 8,000 this year, and inspections that are also performed by the house connection inspectors, they did close to 25,000 this year. And so that's our proactive measure for them to be out daily, like in between calls. That's what they're doing. They're inspecting just infrastructure and catch basins, manholes. We have something called over-under sewer, something new that we're started with the invert plates. And so that is what they're doing, all on the proactive side. And also, as aforementioned, we were able to complete 220 house connection repairs this year. And so that concludes the presentation for WPC.
Thank you, Lowry. Commissioner Lowry. That's a lot of work that WPC does. I'm sure you won't have the answer to this, Director, but if you could get me the information of how many inspections WPC has done and the results of those. So I get a lot of calls from residents who we have to send WPC out, and then the letter that comes back says it's on the homeowner's side, right? So I'd like to know the number of percentages that are on the homeowner's side, and then the number of the percentage that actually is on the city side. Director?
Yeah, and Chairman, typically in the pre-budget requests, which that is outlined, so we do have the data and we'll be happy to share.
All right, thank you. Aside from that, I don't have anything for WPC. It's pretty straightforward. So does any of my colleagues have? Councilman Polensek?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues, to the director and to the commissioner again. And it's always good to see the commissioner, and I appreciate her response to concerns that I posed to her. And as I've maintained, she's one of the old school commissioners that understand that when a council person calls, we're calling on behalf of a constituent, and so I always appreciate her response over the years. I had a couple questions here. The apprenticeship program, you've indicated 10 individuals have gone into the program. How can we expand that? Talking to different officials recently, other cities throughout the country are having many of the same problems we're experiencing with attracting employees. Pay is an issue, working environment, I've heard it all. But one of the things I've heard that they have really embarked upon apprenticeship programs to tap into high schools, to tap into community colleges, to tap into folks coming out of the military. But they have really embarked with a great emphasis on trying to get in as many young people into the system as they possibly can in other major cities across the country. 10 doesn't seem to me to be enough or adequate. So how do we expand that program? How do we,
You go first.
and if someone can, is it tied to one school, or are we looking across the entire city? I want to make sure that's the case as well, because I have 3 high schools in my ward, and so I want to make sure that affect my ward, 2 physically, let me see, 3 physically in it, a 4th that affects my ward but is not in it. So I'd like to really understand more about the apprenticeship program and how we can expand it. So who would care to comment?
If I, through the chairman of the council members, so the apprenticeship program, we're very, very proud of.
Okay.
And the Commissioner Lowry Farrell with Executive Commissioner Graham have done a tremendous job. But the important thing to point out is we also hire a number of people regularly, and we're short. So the apprenticeship program is not the only way to become a professional at water pollution control.
Okay.
And the commissioner works and the assistant commissioner work very closely with all new employees and get the same amount of training. The apprenticeship program itself is in coordination with the collective bargaining agreement with the unions. There is a number of requirements, both for on-the-job training and classroom training. It's 100 employees that are in the field of the commissioner. They're trained, they're professional, they're union members. So it's a capacity issue. We can take as many apprentices we would love to take as many as we could, but those apprentices require on-the-job training with a SMUL, a journeyman, or the unit leaders, right? So the number of crews you can't have a whole crew of apprentices
I understand
with
that.
one unit leader.
Right.
So we have to, operationally speaking, we still have to do the job, and we have to follow the rules of the apprenticeship agreement. So if there are, any of those schools can take the civil service test and get on the list, and commissioner will hire, right? But the apprenticeship, I don't say that to minimize the efforts that we put into the apprenticeship program, but we still hire high school graduates hopefully every day. I wish it was more often, and the commissioner will join me, but I would do,
Okay.
commissioner certainly can add where I missed.
Just through the council, through the chair, through the council, the director pretty much hit everything when he said capacity issue. We've tried more, but in general, like you said, with the unit leaders, we have 8 crews that go out. And so, to his point, like you mentioned, you can't try, and we tried it. You need to only have 1 on a truck, because for safety reasons in addition. So we've tried different things. As I said, we'll be going in 2024 into cohort 3, and it's all been learning. Like the superintendent was ready to kill me last time with 6 new, because you have all these folks on there, and you're literally watching. It's a very, as you know, dangerous job. So from a capacity issue, as he said, and so other departments, which the director indicated too, WPC, you know that, you always refer to her as a small but mighty. And so we take a smaller amount. Cleveland Public Power, the director or executive commissioner can speak better to that, but they take more than WPC, as does Cleveland Water. But for our size and capacity, that's the number that's safest for us to do.
So I'm trying to get that clear. So the 10, that is by the collective bargaining agreement? I'm not clear.
Through the chairman of the councilman, it's by design. It's a capacity. If 10 apprentices, and I think the 16 that have graduated since 2018 is what we were referring to.
Right.
Currently, there's not 10 budgeted for WPC. We're hoping 2 to 4, because in the apprenticeship program, and again, this is the traditional sense of the apprenticeship program, where you come in through the program in coordination with CMSD, the City of Cleveland, the union, and you start the program, is not the 10 that I think you're referring to. But if I could, Executive Commissioner Graham has been working closely with Civil Service to try to get us the recurring lists for these positions, specifically the sewer service worker and the water pipe repair worker, just like they do at public safety, right? We always need them, and that is a high school degree. Those are the minimum qualifications.
Yes,
But
I understand
if
that.
Danielle could briefly explain what we're doing with Civil Service to try to attract these young Clevelanders.
Good morning. Council. Through the chair to the councilman, as director indicated, we are working closely with civil service in terms of the reoccurring list as it relates to sewer service worker, also water pipe repair, as well as customer service call center. So
Okay.
those things that we have, that we know, we're working with civil service to allow for more robust recruitment, as well as to provide that pathway, that continuous pathway of extending out as we recruit for that application through the civil service process.
Well, again, I'm a firm believer in getting people in, and I'm a firm believer in vocational technical training programs within our schools, which obviously a lot of that, the majority of that has disappeared over the years. And again, talking to other public officials, they've all come to the realization across the country that there's got to be greater emphasis on training programs, on apprenticeship programs. Because once you get a younger person in that door, they're there for the 30 years. You know, you've got that employee.
That's what we want.
Yeah. So, you know, if your pay structure is correct and your working environment is correct, that employee is going to be with you, as I see throughout the City Hall. You know, when I came into City Hall years ago, I was surprised the number of people that were here that had 40, 45 years. I can remember working with a guy down in then it was called Public Properties. 50 years he'd worked here. These are people that, you know, their whole life was here working with the city of Cleveland because they had the skill level and they were able to do a lot of things for us. So again, at the end of the day, I just want to see an emphasis on trying. Ted Ginn always reminds me, because I'm on the board at Ginn Academy, he reminds me all the time we talk, not all my kids are going to play football.
Right.
Not all of my kids are going on to the NFL or whatever. They need skill levels. We got to provide skill levels. We need to have that interaction. So again, my other question is this. You mentioned, Commissioner, that we cannot train inside. We cannot train inside anymore. Why is that?
Director?
Through the chairman to the councilman, when the commissioner was referring to the CDL training for the commercial driver's license,
Yeah.
state law changed where we had to train the trainer. We were certified and trained the trainer that we could do it. And we're trying to work around that. The commissioner's been very creative in trying to get some of her staff back up. So now we go through Kent State.
But who pays for that?
Through the chairman of the councilman, we.
Okay, that's what I need to know, because I know a CDL, whatever it is, I mean, there's a cost associated with it.
EMS.
Yeah. So.
We do, yes.
And what does that cost?
$5,000?
Yeah.
Approximately through the chairman of the councilman, $5,000.
Great, I'm glad to hear that, glad to hear that.
Our customers pay.
And then I just want to get, the commissioner indicated we have 8 crews working at all times?
Through the chair, through the councilman, that is unit leaders. So
Unit.
not all, so you have vacs out, you still have TV trucks out, jet
Right.
trucks, plate truck, all that. So 8 repair crews, to be specific.
Okay.
And so that, when the apprentice come to WPC, that's the starting point for them, is
Okay.
with the crew.
Okay, so then my last question, Mr. Chairman, is equipment status. We know you need employees, we've heard that at the table. Where are we with the status of your equipment?
Commissioner?
Okay, through the chair, through the councilman, WPC is in good shape with our equipment.
Okay.
As the director indicated earlier, we've been very creative with grants, securing grants to purchase our special equipment. And so we are currently in good shape with our equipment. Like
Okay.
steady, every year just buying, but we're in good shape.
Okay, and that's important for us to hear that, because I think those of us who've been here a time remember the days in various departments and divisions where equipment was in bad shape, breakdowns, poorly maintained. So again, what I'm hearing here is, I'm glad to hear that, because we need to, when we get a call, we get a complaint, we need to be able to respond, and we need to have the proper equipment, and equipment that, who does the maintenance on your equipment? Is that done by you, or is that done by motor vehicle?
Through the chairman of the council member, both, and there will be an ordinance at some point this morning for the heavy equipment repair through the state contract.
Okay.
So there will be an ordinance coming up for all three divisions, but there are mechanics at each division that do the regular maintenance, but some of the
Yeah,
heavy equipment, the
okay.
specialized equipment, requires proprietary technology, which the ordinance will be before you shortly.
Okay. Again, Mr.
shortly.
Chairman, I want to thank the director and the commissioner. WPC is located in Ward 8, and I'm appreciative of their commitment, their response to members of City Council. We've come a long way from what it used to be, and a lot of that has to do as well. I don't think the council gets the recognition it does over the years, or should have received, providing the financial support, providing the capital dollars for equipment purchases. So I'm proud of WPC, and again, I'm proud of our commissioner, so that's what I need to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman
you.
Polensek. Councilman Harsh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to follow up because I completely agree with you, Chairman, about the question regarding the house connections that are repaired versus on the resident side. And so aside from echoing no request for that, through the chair, my thought is, I believe you said that 1 foot in from the curb is WPC, and after that 1 foot, which is basically the connection to the street line, that becomes the homeowner 1 foot in. Is that what I saw in the presentation?
Yeah, go ahead.
Through the council, through the chair, through the council member, I'm going to say plus or minus, but the testee, which every home does not have a testee, so when there is a testee present, then we use that. But when there is not a testee, we're not going on private property. And so we pretty much just say curb to curb, but we'll go a little in there to look, so it's not a firm
Okay.
1 foot.
So those 220 house connections that were repaired through the chair to the commissioner or director, those occurred within that plus or minus area.
Through the chairman of the
That's where
councilman,
those take
correct.
place. Okay. So I guess what I'm trying to think about, and I probably don't have any new thoughts on the subject, it's 100 years old, but I get a lot of calls from residents who are upset that a tree that they didn't plant, that the city put in their tree lawn, the roots have destroyed their line, and the city comes out and says, sorry, it's our tree, but your responsibility to pay for. And my question through the chair is, if we televise, I'm going to guess 10,000 and repaired 220 because 2% seems anecdotal to me. Do we know from from going on there, from when you go in there, what percentage of problems are within the city's easement access for sidewalks? So we could say, oh, 20% are caused by tree lawn trees that are within 5 feet that are under the city's easement, and then the other 80% are further in, totally private property. When we do those televised inspections through the chair, do we keep track, and I say we, I mean you, keep track of how far in the problem is so that we could actually figure out what percentage are tree lawn?
So briefly, and then I'll, the 134,000 feet is not only the laterals to the house connection, that includes the mains that are in
Yeah.
the right-of-way that are exclusively our responsibility.
Sure.
So I didn't want that to.
Oh, I wasn't
to
worried about that.
Okay. But, and then as to the distance in the lateral, do we have the data? I would defer to the commissioner.
So again, through the chair to the council member, we do have the footage because when you're televising it, they have to say from their starting point, it may be 3 feet in, 4 feet in,
Right.
15. That's how we're able to tell the resident where the issue resides. So if
Okay.
it's like 15 feet on there, it's on your property, clearly.
So my question then becomes this through the chair. If we can estimate how many of the damaged sewer lines are caused by tree lawn trees based on the television reports, and we know how much it costs to fix the 220 that the department did do, could we estimate how much it would cost to repair damage caused by tree lawn trees based on the percentage of television inspections that we know are caused by them?
Through the chairman of the councilman, we couldn't. I mean, these are roots. the tree, you can attribute it to a tree that was on the front lawn 100 years ago. The roots continue to grow.
But when we go down into the pipe to televise and we head towards the street and we see roots, we know that's coming from the tree lawn tree.
I don't
If we
know
go
if we
towards
do.
the house, those roots are coming from a tree on the house.
Oh,
Tree-
okay. I don't, through the chairman of the councilman, we cannot estimate if they came from a tree lawn tree.
If it's the only tree in the yard, and oftentimes they are, we do know that they come from the tree lawn tree.
Okay, yeah. I've never thought. Chairman, to the council member, again, a sewer that is properly functioning does not let in roots, right? And we,
Fair.
the Division of Water Pollution Control and our customers pay the commissioner and her staff to maintain what is our responsibility. That's
Yeah.
why HomeServe exists for the sewer and water line replacement program, I guess. But I just don't know what our customers pay us for is from curb to curb, as the commissioner explained. So the rates are not reflective of private property improvements, just like with Division of Water on the customer side. Sure, we would love to do it, but our customers don't pay for it.
Yeah, and I understand that we're, through the chair, that we're saying in the purview of the utility isn't, everything in the world, but, and I'm just trying to get at an understanding of what it would cost. It's endlessly frustrating. It will never not be frustrating for a homeowner who believes that a tree that the city planted against their will or before they bought the house, but the city planted, has damaged a utility service that they then have to pay for. That will always be a source of anger and frustration. And I'm just curious if we could wrap our head around what it would cost for the city to pay for those repairs based on the television reports that you already conduct. Could we get a ballpark estimate of what it would actually cost if we did? And I understand that it's well outside the work that WPC is currently asked to do, and it might not be appropriate. But since you're down there and looking at routes, and we know from those reports where about those routes are in relationship to the street line and which ones are more likely to be, could we get an estimate on how many that is, and then run the math to figure out how much it would cost, not at WPC, but if the city were to have a program to repair those?
Through the chairman of the council member, we do compile a lot of data, and we're happy to share as much and as specific as you want.
So-
I mean, I guess if you could put it in writing, then we would comply the best of our ability. But again, we don't do trees,
I understand.
right? And we don't do customer side.
Right.
And that's not our charter. That's, we can't.
I'm just trying to think from a 30,000-foot view, if we were to try to address this problem that will never not be frustrating for our residents, what
Agreed.
would that bill look like? How big would that bill be? And we know how much it costs for the 220, and the ones I'm talking about are another foot or two or three, because it's just past that, right? And so through the chair, Ms. Saban, you understand what I'm getting at here and the numbers I'm asking for? Okay. It would be really good for us to just know as a body what that total cost would be if the city were to look at it, because I don't think right now we do.
Director Brooke will send a request over.
Yeah, and just, again, what WPC's purview is very specific. So it's more of a citywide conversation, and the general fund is hugely involved. So we will comply with the information that we have at WPC, no problem.
Yeah, and I understand through the chair that we're not trying to jack up everybody's rates to pay for all these repairs because you're an enterprise fund, you're not running profit, right? We're trying to keep bills as low as possible.
Correct.
And so I'm not trying to throw a new multi-million-dollar annual project your way. I'm just trying to say with the data that you collect, if we could estimate that, it would probably be good for us to know.
Understood.
It'd be useful information. My only other question, through the chair, the catch basins, rough through the chair to whoever wants to answer, roughly how many are there in the city?
Over, through the chair, through the council member, over 43,000.
Okay, and so through the chair, so we inspect about half of them in a year? Is that what, for some reason my tablet keeps turning off and it's frustrating. We inspected 24,000 and you said there's 43?
Through the chair, through the council member, that is correct.
So we are able to inspect about half of them, and then of those half, about 8,000 needed cleaned and the others were good to go?
Through the chair, through the council member, that is correct.
Okay, and then through the chair, is inspecting half of them per year the expectation of the department? Like, they're good every other year? Because that sounds like they're getting inspected every other year.
Through the chair, through the council member, it's recommended every 3 to 5 years, actually, for catch basin inspection. Now, of course, there are some that are heavy traffic areas. You can clean it today, like some going on the freeway and ramps, and it'll be dirty in another hour. But generally, they are recommended every 3 to 5 years for cleaning.
Because I know my colleague bravely cleared one earlier this year. One of the best YouTube videos I've seen of the year. I was just curious. So every 3 to 4, and we're getting to about every 2 years. That sounds like ahead of the curve. So I'll echo my colleagues' sentiments too. It's fantastic working with the commissioner. Quick response. I appreciate all your attention to our residents and the work you do. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else have any questions? Councilwoman Spencer.
Thank you. Great dialogue this morning. I had one question on the budget. I was just looking at the professional services line item budgeted at around $850,000. And it looked like this year, the year-to-date expenditure was, well, about half that. So I was curious about what that, if known this morning, what the professional services line item is, and whether that number might change in 2024.
Director or Troy?
Through the chair to the council member, we'd have to get back to you, but I do not, as far as the large studies that WPC has participated in, I'll have to get you the details on that.
All right. Any other questions for WPC? Director and Commissioner, does the Assistant Commissioner have anything he wants to add to the conversation? You're good? All right. You're new at the table, so we don't want to break you in too hard. I get it. Director, WPC is one of the most quickest responsive divisions that the city has. So anytime we call, within hours, sometimes they're out there, doing what it is they need to do. So as a council, we appreciate the responsiveness of WPC, and Commissioner, and Assistant Commissioner, you guys are doing yeoman's work. So thank you very much, and we appreciate all the hard work that you and your staff and the crews and all those guys out there and the girls out there and the men and women who are out there actually getting dirty and cleaning all the muck out of the catch basins and moving water along. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, I want to remind the members of the committee that utility starts at 10 o'clock, and we wanted to do the legislative portion first, but we did not have a quorum, so if you could please try to be on time for utilities so that we can move the agenda along. Madam Clerk, we're going to move into the legislative portion, so can you please call the roll?
Casey.
Present.
Spencer. Present. Bishop. Here. Ray. Here. Harsh. Here. Kelly. Present. Valencia.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Director, we're going to go right into the legislative portion of this. Ordinance number 1194-2023 by council members Casey and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance determining the method of making the public improvement of constructing various improvements to the Parma Pump Station and authorizing the Director of Public Utilities to enter into one or more public improvement contracts for the making of the improvement. Director?
Thank you, Chairman, members of the Utilities Committee. Division of Water, 4 water treatment plants, 12 secondary pump stations. We've completed a focused assessments of the secondary booster pump stations and programmed critical needed improvements to those stations into its capital program. The specific to the Parma Pump Station provides directly serves the second high district on the west side of the Cleveland Waters system and indirectly into the 2 third high service districts. They need motors, pumps to be replaced, controls for the pumps to be upgraded, HVAC, electrical switchgear, and roof. Anticipated $6 million, hopefully completing within 2 years. Requesting approval.
Director, this is the second largest one. What's the first largest one?
I'm sorry, I didn't say second largest, but it serves the second high service district.
Okay.
So its service area is to the west through Parma Heights.
All right.
It takes the water from the lake up and then pumps it up into the second high district.
Okay.
Apologies.
Any questions on 1194-2023? Seeing none, 1194-2023 stands approved. Please sign up. Ordinance number 1253, 2023, by Councilmembers Casey and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the purchase by one or more requirement contracts of hauling and disposing of residuals from the Crown Water Works plant and in emergencies, other water treatment plants, authorizing the Director of Public Utilities to enter into one or more requirement contracts without competitive bidding with Polydyne, Inc. for polymer chemicals needed for dewatering Crown's residuals and for the Division of Water, Department of Public Utilities for a term of up to 2 years. Director, this is a direct award, which you know I'm not fancy on, so can you explain to us why we need a direct award?
Thank you, Chairman. Partially direct award, partially out to bid. You're familiar with Crown's treatment process. It is unique to the water treatment plants. It is the screw press, which you have to add the polymer in order. It's a conditioner for the residuals, the byproducts, the sludge, if you will. The screw press at Crown is still under warranty, so the Polydyne product is consistent with the warranty. We don't want to blow the warranty, so that's the direct award for that polymer additive that we use in the processing of the sludge. So that's the portion of the direct award. However, the hauling of the debris, as you're familiar with in council, that Crown does not directly move the sludge as the others to the sewer district for processing. At Crown, we have to haul the sludge away. We will be going out to bid for those hauling services. So it is a two-pronged ordinance, Chairman, but all specific to the water treatment at Crown.
All right, any questions on 1253, 2023?
Yes.
Councilman Polensek.
Mr. Chairman, to the my honorable colleagues, to the director, to the commissioner, the byproduct, the quote unquote, the sludge, is that hazardous?
Director?
Through the chairman to the council member, so it needs to be handled under the EPA guidelines as residuals. There is, and what's the word? Commissioner, tell him, please, if you would.
Commissioner?
Dead animals.
Biodegradable?
Biohazard?
Whatever. Commissioner, if you could.
So the Crown Plan, as the director indicated, is west of the Rocky River. We do not have the option to send it to regional, so we have to thicken it and then send it to landfills. As of this moment, we are not sending it to hazardous site landfills.
Okay. So could that be used in gardens?
At one time, we had a bidder that did use it that way, but we do obligated to take it to the low bidder, and at the moment, the current bidder does not do that.
And who's the current bidder, Mr. Chairman?
Kurtz.
Brothers.
Kurtz, okay. I was just wondering, because more and more people are getting into the gardening, as we all know, if there was a possibility of utilizing that in a more environmentally contained way for individuals. Okay. So you're telling us right now that's not going to happen?
Through the chairman of the council member, we don't know.
Okay.
If the lowest and best bid does have that type of, we
Right.
would certainly entertain it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, any other questions on 1253 and removing the sludge and all that other stuff? Nothing? All right, 1253 stands approved. Please sign up. Ordinance number 1272, 2023, by Councilmembers Casey and Griffin, by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Utilities to enter into one or more requirement contracts without competitive bidding with Southeastern Equipment Company, Inc., and Murphy Tractor and Equipment Company, Inc., for the purchase of proprietary replacement parts of heavy-duty construction equipment and labor and materials to repair and maintain the proprietary equipment for the Division of Water, Water Pollution Control, and Cleveland Public Power, Department of Public Utilities for a term of 2 years. Director, it's another direct award.
That's correct, Chairman, and this is for the heavy equipment operators. So at all three divisions, there's a variety of case equipment or John Deere equipment, which the maintenance of, replacement of, servicing of is on a statewide basis. Those state vendors are identified as Murphy Tractor Equipment and Southeastern Equipment. Continuation of how we continue, how, as we spoke of earlier, maintain these necessary pieces of equipment, anticipating approximately $400,000 a year, total for 2 years, $800,000. Request approval.
All right, any questions regarding 1272, Councilman Polensek? This was what you were asking
Yeah,
about earlier?
Mr. Chairman, to the Commissioner, Director and Commissioner, my honorable colleagues, are these these are backhoes, heavy equipment? What is this stuff?
So for the Division of Water, it would be include, not limited to excavators, wheel and front end loaders, backhoes, and lift trucks.
Okay,
CPP would be the riggers, and the pole placement is a John Deere, I believe. And at WPC, excavator, front end loader, backhoe,
okay,
similar in all three
okay.
divisions.
And due to, these were purchased through the state contract, that's partnership with the state?
Through the chairman to the council member, how we acquired the
Yeah.
different apparatus varies throughout. It could have been through grants, as Commissioner is very good at.
Right.
But if it, there's a healthy amount of John Deere and Case equipment throughout the Division of Public Utilities, and if we want to fix it, we have to use these two. So says the great state of Ohio.
I wonder who they're related to. Okay, but anyway,
Not
we
me.
won't go there. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, and Director, this is about $390,000 a year to fix and maintain our trucks, correct?
Through the chair, or to the chairman, that's what we're hoping.
Okey dokey. Any other questions on 1272? Seeing none, 1272 stands approved. Our last one, 1277, 2023, by Councilmembers Casey and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance determining the method of making the public improvements of maintaining and improving the interior and exterior of various buildings and sites, including but not limited to roofs and related building and site systems, authorizing the Director of Public Utilities to enter into one or more public improvement contracts to construct an improvement, authorizing the Director to employ one or more professional consultants necessary to design the improvement, and authorizing the Director to apply for and accept any grants, including but not limited to grants from Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District for Community Cost Shares Program funding for a period of 2 years. Director, this is a lot in this piece of legislation.
Yes, Chairman, and thank you. So throughout the Division of Public Utilities, there are a number of facilities. The number of those facilities are old. All those facilities need regular improvements. Not necessarily improvements, but maintenance. And this ordinance, yes, it is kind of what we use when the HVAC at Kirby goes out, when the roof at the Collinwood substation has a hole in it and we need to immediately fix it. This is the contract that we would use, publicly procured, legally bid for requirements that we anticipate needing throughout mechanical, electrical, site, roof, facility, indoor and outdoor fix improvements.
All right, and Director, why the need for a consultant to help design this if something needs to be done? I mean, do we really need a consultant to come in and tell us what needs to be done?
To the chairman, historically, and our experience has been specific to the roofs, when we would say we need a roofer to respond immediately for a necessary fix. In certain circumstances, when it is over the flocculation building, or there's certain aspects of what we do that require very specialized design of a fix in very short order. It's a very small portion of this, and what I can do is get you historically what we've spent for straight consulting. So it's a requirements contract. It's impossible to get that vendor to go to look at every building and analyze the roof or the window or the HVAC system to be able to respond. So we put that in there as a catch-all, but it's very rarely used, and I'm happy to give you how we've used these contracts in the past. But again, it's limited amounts of money, so these are not significant improvements. As you can see, I think $1 million at water, 900 CPP, 750 WPC, 50 at ORC.
All right, if you could provide that information on how
Certainly.
you're using the consultants and how much we've spent on them. Any questions on 1277?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Palenzi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues, to the director, to the commissioners. So, like the maintenance of the substations, would this fall under that?
Through the chairman and the council member, just the building.
Just the building
The
itself?
building or the fence, right? If the fence gets hit by a car, we are then in immediate violation of our NERC standards.
Okay.
PJM, so we need that fixed
Okay.
immediately. I
Okay.
don't have the opportunity to go out to bid or to get, I need somebody to respond immediately, or a water treatment plant,
Okay.
right? If there's, as cars love to do, hit our gate, right? We need to fix that immediately because in terms
Right,
of
okay.
securing this
Well,
sensitive infrastructure, we need
well,
them to respond immediately.
No, I'm very much aware of it. Because the CPP, I have the largest, Mr. Chairman, I have the largest customer base, Clean Public Power customers, and the substations I have, they are in deplorable condition. They look like abandoned buildings. I mean, they're an embarrassment. The one on South Waterloo Road, I mean, give me a break. I mean, what that thing looks like. So, and even on 185th, where we're spending all this money to, with the streetscape, the substation that is there, I mean, nobody cuts the weeds, nobody does, I'm just hoping, Mr. Chairman, to the director, that we take a look at all these substations. We look at fencing. I know I have a concern with the fence at WPC along the entranceway from Eddy Road. It's, needs to be painted, needs to be improved. I'm just saying about the appearance of our properties. I'm always been into this thing. Our properties reflect on our city, and our properties have to look good, in my opinion. I don't care if it's a police station, a firehouse. Our properties have to look, but the substations with Clean Public Power, they're an embarrassment. And so I'm going to look forward to working through the chair with you folks to see what we can do to just start to improve some of this stuff. I mean, some of them put some paint on them. I mean, they look terrible. So, okay, I'll leave it at that, Mr. Chairman.
Director, we'll look into that.
Thank you, Chairman.
All right. All right, seeing no other questions on 1277, 2023. Stands approved. Please sign up. Director, thank you very much. I do have one question for you, Director. Recently in the news, there's been talk about, not here, but other water departments that have been victims of hacking. Commissioner, you know
Yes,
what we're talking
absolutely.
about. Can you just assure us that our security and safety measures for water are top-notch and in place, and there's nothing that we should worry about?
No, Chairman, and I will certainly allow the Commissioner, something that we watch very closely, and it has been a topic of conversation from a national level. But we invest heavily with Council's support into our technology infrastructure. There's redundancies. There are vendors with clouds that provide additional securities. So as we stand here today, we are confident in the systems that we have set up. But from a national perspective, and the Commissioner and I speak probably biweekly about the national temperament on cybersecurity and any additional requirements that we can anticipate will be told to us to do, but I would defer to the Commissioner as the participant in all these conversations.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you so much. So I would say it comes down to a general philosophy in cybersecurity. There's IT, information technology, if you will, and there's a term of art called OT, which is your operational technology, your control systems. And the general philosophy is keep them separated and isolated from each other as much as humanly possible. And we go to superhuman lengths to do that. You cannot get into our control system from the regular computer system. I can't go to my computer and log into the control system. It can't be. It's segregated. The incident that you're referring to in Aliquippa, Pennsylvania,
Right.
The local controller, the local computer called a PLC, was hacked into. It was obviously accessed by the internet. They do not apparently have adopted that philosophy from what it appears, where you can't get to our control system from the internet.
Okay.
We work very hard to keep those systems segregated and isolated from each other. I would say that's the most important thing that we do to protect our control system.
All right, sounds good. So seeing no other questions for Department of Public Utilities, thank you very much, Director. At this time, I'd like to call up Director O'Keefe from the Office of Sustainability. We'll be going over the operational review for the the Office of Sustainability.
Good morning.
Good morning, Director. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm well. Do you have any opening statement or anything, or do you want to go right into the?
No opening statement. I'd love to go right in.
Let's go right into it
You know
then.
what? Oh, here's the clicker. Thank you. Good morning, Chairman and council members. I have an overview of the Mayor's Office of Sustainability. So I think it's on your screens, right?
Yeah, we got it. It's
All
on
right.
tablets.
Great. So just an office overview as a reminder. This is what I'm going to do, office overview, accomplishments, what's notable, a couple photos here, and then where we are heading for 2024. The Mayor's Office of Sustainability, just a statement about the mission, empowers Cleveland to improve economic, environmental, and social well-being of citizens, visitors, and employees in the context of a rapidly changing climate. What that boils down to is that we develop and implement education programs, tools, and policies in these key focus areas that are listed below. The focus areas are climate change and decarbonization. That's the rapid decrease of carbon emissions and air pollutants. Energy use and renewables. Waste reduction, and called circular economy. Our fourth area is natural systems, trees, and stormwater. And then our fifth area is buildings, parks, transportation. We work throughout the administration and community and with council members to embed cross-cutting priorities of equity, health, and well-being. And we collaborate to implement through leadership, grants, communications, and education and outreach, all of these items. I also have on this slide an overview of our staffing. If you have any questions about that, we have 12 staff, 9 full-time, 2 part-time, 1 full-time hiring in progress. We should be completed with that in the next week or so. Here is our org chart that has all of our functions and our staff. I just wanted to say a lot of times our staff is here in these operational hearings, but they are at Public Auditorium right now doing an engagement with our city departments on our climate risk and vulnerability assessment. For 2023, I have an update on some of our accomplishments in each one of these areas. I'll go over these at a pretty high level, but can answer questions. Our Decarbonization Summit was held on April 13th in 2023. This had an environmental justice and technology focus. It was a public event, and then we also had the tech deep dives in the afternoon. We had over 260 participants from public attendees sessions, and then 100 plus in the tech deep dives from subject matter experts in education, in advocacy in the afternoon. We also worked with NOACA to secure a climate pollution reduction grant here in Northeast Ohio. That was a $1 million grant with a $600,000 subaward to the city of Cleveland. And that is for climate action planning at the regional level. In our energy use and renewables area, we have achieved an improved rank in what's called the Clean Cities scorecard from the American Council for Energy Efficient Economy. We are 38. We've moved up 1 in rank out of the top 100 cities that are ranked in that scorecard. So this is really a testament to our energy efficiency work and our energy program management in coordination with other departments, of course. For our Community Choice Aggregation Program, 100% green energy RECs, approximately 55,000 accounts of residents and small businesses are enrolled at a cost savings. The electricity for city buildings, we have 100% green energy also, backed by renewable energy credits. And these are all First Energy accounts. What this means is that we've been able to procure electricity separate from First Energy, from another supplier, at a cost savings that's also green, generated from green sources. And that's for 420 city accounts. In the waste reduction area, we have a compost pilot that was completed through a $60,000 grant at the West Side Market, and we applied for a $340,000 residential composting grant. We have not heard back yet from the USDA, so we're eagerly awaiting news on that application. The Clevelot Vacant Land Reuse Tool, we supported that along with Department of Planning, Community Development, many other departments on vacant land reuse tool development. We are also participating in the Sustainable Manufacturing Regional Engine, Innovation Engine. This is a National Science Foundation planning grant to consider how we can use the manufacturing backbone here in Northeast Ohio and Cleveland as well to have a more sustainable manufacturing, less environmental impact manufacturing system here in Northeast Ohio. We also have fix-it repair workshops, which some of you may have seen in your neighborhoods. This is 1 to 2 each month are held around the city of Cleveland. We're working with the public library as well, and this is where residents can come and bring things and learn how to fix them. We coordinate with community-based organizations. That work is led by Kathy Len in our office, Senior Sustainability Manager for Circular Economy. So that's been very successful. And then our natural systems, trees and stormwater, of course, the Urban Forestry Commission kickoff this year. We had 4 meetings so far, quarterly meetings. The Office of Sustainability doesn't lead that commission, but we're what I'm calling the secretariat. We are the secretary, so we support it in the meetings and the communications, and we host all of the public communications for the Urban Forestry Commission. We also supported the training for all commissioners for 4 days of the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, and then we will have recommendations for pursuing that training in January 2024. Also, we had a $10,000 grant. 40 trees were planted for that grant. That was at the beginning of this year. Or sorry, they were planted recently, but that grant was secured at the latter half of last year. Summer Youth Employment Program, we had an urban forestry focus. 928 trees were inventoried by 4 employees. This was a new focus for our Summer Youth Employment Program. We worked at the East 116th area neighborhood, and that was out of the Rice Branch Library. And we worked with students there to survey trees in the area, update them in our ArcGIS system. And so we had the experience of students, employees I should say, working in the field, getting their hands dirty with trees and measuring them, but also then working with the technology on ArcGIS. So they have contributed to improving and ground truthing our tree inventory in that area. Buildings, parks, and transportation, we have a lot of partners across all of these different focus areas. Here, a lot of community engagement on the park evaluation tool. The Office of Sustainability supported the funding, partial funding for that engagement. That was not led by our office, but we supported that. We are leading the public EV charging station RFP, as many of you know, and we are currently in contract negotiations for that. I didn't mark this on your slide, but in 2024, that DOT funding is potentially, we're going to apply for that, and that would need legislative action. And then police headquarters, we are supporting the tracking of what's called the LEED certification, the sustainable attributes of that project. So a lot of our budget is focused on salary for our individuals. And this is the kind of work that we do, and that's what those dollars support. On the communications side, these are what I call our implementation functions. So leadership, communications, and education and outreach staff work on a lot of these particular aspects. So we have engaged over 960 stakeholders via community workshops, lunch and learns, and presentations in the community and in educational institutions or with community-based organizations. We have community-based organization engagement focused heavily on environmental justice through what's called the Cleveland Environmental Advocacy Coalition. And they are a group of about 30 to 40 community-based organizations that promote action in environmental stewardship in various ways. I already talked about our engagement for the Summer Youth Employment. We also have a mentorship through our Decarbonization Summit. We had worked with CMSD to have a youth panel present their work and connection to decarbonization in the spring. And then on communications, we wanted to talk about, I wanted to show what our reach is here on social media through the Sustainable Cleveland handle. This is all our social media, so we have, I think it's called X now, formerly known as Twitter, Facebook, and other social media outlets. Those are our 22,000 followers. Our newsletter, it goes out monthly. There are 13,674 subscribers with a high open rate of 68.21%. And then our targeted campaigns have these specific over 90,000 webpage visits. The number one visit and level of interest is recycling. We partner with Department of Public Works on that. They're really leading the work, as a lot of you know, on recycling, mainly through, you probably have seen a lot of public service announcements. I know a lot of you have worked with Wren Brumfield and Department of Public Works on that. Number two was climate action. We're right in this kickoff in the last few months of our climate action planning, and that has been a high hit rate there. And then Green Jobs Board. There's a lot of interest. We don't just post jobs at the City of Cleveland. We post green jobs across the region, meaning jobs in climate action, environmental stewardship, and that is a very popular hit. So we work with other organizations to make sure that we have access to green jobs.
Director, can I stop you right there and ask you a
Oh,
quick question? When you said you post throughout the region, what is the region? To us, the region, City of Cleveland. So what is your version of the region?
For the Green Jobs Board? Mm-hmm. Anyone within the greater Cleveland area, I would say Northeast Ohio, anybody with access who's interested in commuting in. I think the city itself pulls from a number of other counties. Okay. So that's what I'm,
Okay.
Yeah. And then I wanted to, it's a little small in here, but hopefully you can see it on your boards here. These are the performance metrics that were included in our 2022, our 2023 budget and budget book. And then 2023, these are year to date. We anticipate these numbers increasing because this is as of September, end of September. And we are currently in our engagement sessions for our climate risk and vulnerability assessment. Those have not been included in this quite yet. So you'll see an uptick in a few of these numbers, one of them being the grants accounted for. The dollars have upticked. The number of grants are smaller. We're really focusing on going for the Inflation Reduction Act and Built Environment IIJA opportunities from the federal government. And so we might have fewer grants, but we're looking for those to be larger in size. And most of those grants require collaboration. Almost all of them require collaboration with other entities. Just a few notable things that we have. I talked about some of these in our accomplishments. But Environmental Advocacy Coalition, here we have a photo of, in the center there is the Department of Energy diversity leader. Her name is Director Shalonda Baker. She met with the mayor and with our community-based organizations that work in environmental advocacy. She works on energy burden and the relief of energy burden and promoting economic development, equitable economic development in the energy space. So it was a really wonderful meeting. CPP was also at the table for that meeting. Better Climate Challenge. This is the Department of Energy Better Climate Challenge is what we declared earlier this spring at the Decarbonization Summit. You'll see this is a clip from a video that's going to come out soon. It'll talk about Cleveland. So the city of Cleveland, as well as Cleveland Cliffs and Cleveland Clinic have all committed to the Better Climate Challenge, which is to reduce our emissions by 50% over the next 10 years. So there is some advertising there, gain some attention for the city of Cleveland on our efforts. A decarbonization summit, this is also a little small, but this is our youth panel from Cleveland Municipal School District. The ArcGIS Story Map, this is the Summer Youth Employment Program. I would like to send out a link to this so that you can see it. This is a story map that was created by the students or employees of our Summer Youth Employment Program. It talks about what they did in detail and how what the outcomes were in that area. And then Urban Forestry Commission, Department of Natural Resources training. This is actually from yesterday. We went out and this is part of our training is to learn how to do what's called Urban Site Index and looking at trees. Tree lawns and the capability of them to have the right tree in the right place, as our urban forester, Jennifer Kipp, would say. And And then I wanted to wrap up with where we are heading in 2024. So looking at those same areas, we're really building on the climate change area. We are in our climate action plan, heavy in what's called the climate risk and vulnerability assessment. A number of you, I think, shared our survey with your residents. Thank you very much, and asking what their thoughts were on risk and vulnerability. We did not have equal representation in responses to that survey across the city. So we are also doing in-person engagements over the next couple of weeks. We worked with communities, neighborhood-level, community-based organizations to schedule those, and we will also be getting information in that way. That's research-based also. It's not just from surveys and engagements. And then on city properties, that's what's happening right now. We are working, we assess the vulnerability through research of different city properties, and we're working with city employees on engagement as we speak. We will have a climate change conference hosted by the Climate Registry here in Cleveland, May 21st through the 24th, and our office will be participating and helping to bring in other community organizations to participate in that event. That is an international organization that has chosen to select Cleveland for its conference due to our work on climate. Our energy use and renewables, energy efficiency in city buildings is a large focus. We just hired a new energy program manager who's backfilling our assistant director's position, and so he will be helping us lead that. Our on-site solar design completion, there might be a potential legislation update with that. That is in design. We will complete it in 2024. Our community choice aggregation, we have 2024 to 2026 renewals that may require also, that will require legislation action. And then EP Solar for All with CPP. This is potential legislation. We joined a couple of applications as with the Ohio Department of Air Quality Authorization, I'm not remembering the name of what they're called, the Ohio EPA and the Ohio Air Quality Development Authority is what they're called, submitted an application for a very large grant across Ohio, and that is for how do we do solar in Ohio. And that would require potential legislation this spring or summer of 2024. Our waste and circular economy area, we're looking, working across departments to have a sustainable purchasing policy and a potential sustainable business certification. And then USDA, I talked about this already, this is our food waste reduction grant. We're waiting to hear, we were supposed to hear in November, today's November 30th. We're hoping to hear in December now about that. USDA has been holding on to their dollars for a little bit here. That would fund a residential composting program, and that would be starting to roll out in 2024 if we get that funding. And we have legislative authority for that already. Natural systems and stormwater, coastal resilience planning through Great Lakes, St. Lawrence cities. This is a regional leadership group. Great Lakes, St. Lawrence cities. We're working with other organizations along the coast, cities rather, Lakewood, Euclid, Richmond Heights, to come together to plan on coastal resilience because we are losing coastline across Lake Erie. So how do we plan for that? These are dollars that are available, and we're working together. December 6th, we're having a meeting with those cities to look at that. Summer Youth Employment Program, we're working on expanding our urban forestry and heat mapping program that we started this summer. That's in the planning phase. We will be working with PIO for the Youth Opportunities Unlimited potential partnership for having youth be employed through that program. We're in discussions about that in planning right now. Nature-based solutions, these are natural systems, trees, and stormwater, and how do we connect neighborhoods? We potentially will have a grant legislation on pursuing what's called the Community Choice Grant in early 2024. And then finally, in buildings and parks and transportation, on that public EV charging station network, we are projecting that 50% of the sites would be implemented by the end of 2024. This is consistent with the timeline we've already presented to council. We are looking at grant funding, as I mentioned already. And then development incentives, we are working with integrated development to look at a tiered scorecard that also includes climate and environmental attributes in community benefit agreements for them to tiered incentives. Green building standard update for community development, And a built environment workforce development, using the ARPA funding, that $10 million, sustainability is supporting that work and integrating it into all of our grant applications. Workforce development is a requirement in many of these federal applications, and we need to be able to say how we're leveraging existing dollars to make sure that we're tying workforce development to energy, composting. So all of the grants I've talked about, this would connect to our workforce development, ARPA dollars as well. I think that's my last slide.
All right, that's a lot. Thank you, Director. I have a couple of things I want to touch on, and then we'll open it up for discussion from the members of the committee. First off, did you send over your budget versus actual?
No, but I certainly can. I think, yes, the finance director sent that over, and I have it.
Not, when did you send it over? Do you know when?
It was, it was sent directly from the
Okay, all right,
finance, along with everyone else's.
okay.
Yep.
So I'm going to start where we are heading in 2024.
Sure.
A couple of things on this slide here. I'm going to say it now. It's November 30th, right? 2023, for the community choice aggregation renewals, okay?
Yes.
Let's not wait till the last minute for that. And when you come for the renewals, I want to make sure that we have a fixed price for the remaining renewals. All right, so and we should start working on that sooner rather than later. Also, for the summer youth employment program, I know you mentioned YOU, but I would highly suggest that you reach out to Director Kane, as DPU has started their own summer youth employment program. So that I think that would be a good collaboration between city departments, as that program's going to be new this year. The Environmental Advocacy Coalition engagement, is that an ongoing thing?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
To the chair.
And are these members in this picture, are these the members of that advocacy coalition engagement? And then how involved are they? Explain that a little more in depth.
Certainly. To the chair, there is a environmental advocacy platform which was issued, I think, in fall of 2021, that talks about a lot of different priorities that were gathered by these community-based organizations. And those are a few of the members of that, but it's about 30 or 40, so.
And how were those members selected?
That is a coalition that was, I don't know the
That's
answer
not
to
something
that.
that the city put together?
No,
Okay.
it was not. This was a community-based movement, and they came to the mayor and asked about different priorities.
Okay.
And our administration is working with organizations to report back to them on the priorities that the community-based organizations brought from community members.
Okay. Under your accomplishments, you got a $10,000 grant to plant 40 trees. That's about $250 a tree. What are you expecting in 2024? Are we expecting any type of influx for tree planting? I know another council member reached out to me yesterday wanting to know where we're looking at for tree planting for 2024.
We're working with, in terms of grants, we're looking at a lot of different opportunities, and we are working through the Urban Forestry Commission to evaluate those opportunities. A grant was submitted through Cleveland Tree Coalition. Mm-hmm. We did not earn any dollars from that grant. However, there's re-granting funding available. So as soon as that comes out, we will look at that. And the state of Ohio has, through the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, as Councilmember Spencer knows, has an opportunity right now that we're looking at as well.
All right. And
Yeah.
sure. Here, you want to use it?
Sure, thank you. Yeah, the grants for tree canopy was certainly something I was hoping to raise as well. So there was an important request submitted for the U.S. Department of Forestry for Inflation Reduction Act that was done. City of Cleveland was part of a much bigger coalition through the Cleveland Tree Coalition. That was not successful. but I wanted to take advantage with the director of the table to confirm whether it's my understanding, and I know we'll discuss it at the next Urban Forestry Commission, re-granting from the Inflation we could be a sub-grantee from some of the Inflation Reduction Act. So I wanted to differentiate between that and certainly follow up with you, but wanted to make sure that that understanding was accurate or if we knew where that stood.
Yes, through the chair to the council member, our understanding, it has not been announced yet how that's going to be working. However, what happened with, there were about 800 applications of various sizes across the nation to that funding. The U.S. Forest Service determined that they would take I don't have the exact number of how many dollars, but I think a few $100 million, and give them to what are called re-granting organizations such as Arbor Foundation, American Forests, et cetera. And those entities will have grants available to localities that did not receive direct funding as a part of that ask.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, we don't have timing
Thanks
on
for
that.
confirming.
Sure.
Yeah, so so Inflation Reduction Act dollars are still a possibility for grants just through these re-granting organizations. And then one more, thank you for allowing me the point, Chairman Casey. I wanted to clarify to the director the state of Ohio dollars that were being referenced as a grant possibility to differentiate between these sources.
Certainly. Through the chair to the council member, the state of Ohio also received dollars from the U.S. Forestry Service to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. And they are an Ohio entity that is re-granting. And the amount that we can apply for is, as an established program, is up to $1 million.
All right, great. Oh, got it.
Through the chair, do we know the deadline for that particular?
Yes, the deadline for that is December 29th.
All right, thank you. And then your one slide where you've got the names associated with the titles, I wanted to thank you for that because I think more departments should give us names with titles so that we know if there's an issue on who we actually need to call, as opposed to always reaching out to directors. But my last thing is, and I know your answer to this, but the city's climate risk and vulnerability assessment that's going on, very disappointed that you left out the west side in that community engagement. I know you're going to say that you got a lot of feedback online from the west side, but you've got 4 hearings. I think the one closest to the west side would be on Fulton, which is more the south side. So you covered the south side, but the other ones are all either downtown or east. And when you're going to go through an engagement looking for information from the city of Cleveland, please in the future try not to exclude any portion of the city of Cleveland, especially a whole side of the city. On that, I will open it up to members of the committee. Anybody who has any questions? Are you done? Councilman Polensky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues, and to the director. When was the separation that took place between your department and utilities? When did that take place?
Through the chair to the council member, that's something that I would have to look up. That predates my service to the city.
Okay, and you came on board when?
July of 2022.
Okay. As we're all going into next year's budget round, we're all going to be looking at the general fund, which again is something we need to talk more about in committees and on our city access channel, because I found on issue 38 a lot of residents really don't understand the general fund, what the general fund is versus the enterprise accounts, et cetera, et cetera. So, I'm going to be looking at the effectiveness at all departments and all divisions. And with the priority, my own personal priority is on the delivery of city services. And my number one priority, obviously, is public safety. So if the director could get back to us when that separation occurred. At present, you have 10 employees?
We have, through the chair to the councilman, we have 10 full-time employees, and we have 2 part-time employee interns.
But she's one down, I think.
One down.
That is, sorry, that is correct.
Okay.
We're hiring right now.
So all I'm saying is that I think we have to really deep dive, and I know other council people feel the same. We have to really deep dive on all departments and divisions as it pertains to their effectiveness and to what's going on, because just the police contracts alone, FOP, CPPA, over the next 2 years is going to be about $20.8 billion. So we've got to be looking at the effectiveness of all departments and divisions. So again, I'm going to leave it at that. If the director could get back to us on that, I appreciate it. Thank you.
And Director, what is your total budget?
My total budget, I can get back to you on the exact dollars. I have it right here. Hang on just a second. For 2023, $1.3 million.
And you've expended 733, which means you have an unobligated budget balance as of the end of September of 630,000.
Correct.
And you're basically full staff. You're pretty much full staffed. I mean, you've only been down one employee all year, correct?
We have been down a couple, so we have some hire dates if you are
Yeah, what
looking
would
at
they-
our organization. So we had 6 months of an energy program manager vacancy. That is a very competitive position right now. With all of these federal grants being available, everyone is hiring for energy program management. That was challenging to backfill that position. A number of organizations who've never had energy program management are looking for dollars for the federal grant opportunities, especially the energy dollars. So that was 6 months. We had 2.5 months of our nature-based solutions manager who was hired in June. I don't think I have the hire date on this slide because I updated it in November. And then we had 3 months without a built environment manager. That's the one for whom we're hiring right now. So that's the salary, unspent salary. And that's the largest portion of our budget is salary.
Right. But basically, for the most part, you've been close to full staff for the year, I would say. You did some hiring September, October, November. I don't count the seasonals really because
Right.
they're seasonals. All right, so
Correct.
just wanted to touch on that. Anybody else have any other questions for the Office of Sustainability? Councilman Harsh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a question sort of about the overall nature of the work. Mr. Chair, I pick up nonprofit vibes, and I know in the nonprofit world it's very popular for a coalition to come together of 6 organizations. One person does all the work and 6 people take all the credit. And it's just a popular thing to be done in the nonprofit world. I'm looking at the 2023 accomplishments and I see ACE, I see Case Western, I see Cleve Lots, which is a function of the Western Reserve Land Conservancy. I see Urban Forestry, I see YOU, I see all these other organizations that exist independently and function with the exception of urban forestry, outside the management of the city, and that are going to exist regardless. And I guess my question through the chair to the director is, what value does this department bring independent of all other efforts? I'm really only familiar with the negotiation for energy prices from First Energy as direct work from your department. And a lot of this looks to me like work that's happening anyway. So I'm just curious, what is the direct output in terms of like inputs and output metrics from your department that exists solely within your department and without any other agencies or outside organizations?
Director?
Yeah, through the chair to the council member, our office is charged with innovating beyond environmental compliance. So environmental compliance is addressing issues such as clean water, clean air, compliance levels, regulation. What our office does is we have thought leadership and training and subject matter expertise in pushing the envelope in how to move beyond compliance and addressing historic environmental justice issues and preventing future environmental justice issues. In particular, in climate action, our leadership on climate action has been recognized here in our first column by our Decarbonization Summit Environmental Justice Technology. This 38 rank in clean cities out of 100. That scorecard talks about energy efficiency, but it also is an in-depth scorecard, and I'm happy to share that with you, and I think it'll outline better what the work has been.
And through the chair, I believe you said we were 39 last year?
That's correct.
So we moved up one, or somebody fell.
I thought we were 44.
I think that was a couple of years ago through the
Okay.
chair. Yes.
There's somebody fell.
I mean, we could have moved up or somebody could have fallen off. It would make the same, it would result in the same change. I'm trying to understand what benefit, what the output is from the department. And I understand that you negotiated the contract for the First Energy supply. And the rest of this seems like heavily utility-based. And I'm sure there have to be subject experts at the water department and at public power. And I mean, I think subject experts work in the fields. So I'm trying to wrap my head around that. And echoing Councilman Polensek, we have to make some tough decisions about the budget because the costs for labor have gone up somewhat dramatically this year. And we need to figure out where those increased costs come from. We were fortunate to dodge a bullet and retain $14 million in our general fund. Although some people in these photos worked very hard to take that away, but I'm trying to figure out value for investment on behalf of taxpayers and what taxpayers get out of this. So if there's anything beyond the direct negotiation of the prices that is not associated with other organizations already working, please point that out to me. And if there's anything that you want to get to me later, I'd appreciate it.
Sure, I can certainly follow up on that point.
Okay.
Is that it?
Yep.
I have a question, Chair.
Councilwoman Gray.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Director, I just want to ask about the Fix It Repair Workshop.
Yes.
You spoke on that. Could you tell me a little bit about that? Thank you.
Absolutely. So that work has been going on in coordination. One of the values is that we are working on how to reuse and repair as opposed to just throwing things away. In the circular economy, what we emphasize is instead of extracting resources, building things, using them and throwing them away, how do we get back to, I think, the value of real sustainability in our products? And this is a community-facing program that says, so for example, we partner with Oh So Powerful.
So powerful.
Yes, SEW.
Where's that?
I will send you information on it.
Thank you.
This is a community member who has sewing machines, and she brings them to the Fix It Repair workshops, and individuals can bring their repairs that are needed, clothing, whatever can be sewed, and they bring them and they can be repaired. We've also partnered with a number of other organizations who have repair expertise. I think Ohio City Bike Co-op might have been one of them. I will get you more information on who we've partnered with on which, and I can give you the schedule as well. And we have that, we've shared it. I can send you the website as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Chair.
Really neat program. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else have anything for the Office of Sustainability? Director, thank you very much. Great job. To the committee, I thank you.
Actually, I just have something, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
You move fast. I just want, with the director at the table, I wanted to acknowledge that I've had my closest experience working with you through the Urban Forestry Commission, and director has done a great job serving as secretary, and there's a lot of work ahead. So just noting that there's a really important role, I think especially with looking at some of these grants that need to be secured, there continues to be an important leadership role there, and I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
All right, thank you for all your work. To the committee, this is our last meeting of the year. Thank you very much. I think, Director, I know you have a flight to catch, so I hope we got you. I hope we got you out of here.
I have mine.
Got you out of here in time.
Going on the red line.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you,
need me to
thank you,
come
Director. To the committee, thank you very much. We heard a lot today, 4 pieces of legislation and 3 different operational reviews. So I just want to personally thank all the members of the committee for your hard work and dedication. And if you have any goals or anything specific that you want DPU or the Office of Sustainability to work on in 2024, please let me know. Also, if you have any pre-budget requests, please get them into me as soon as possible. Before we start our hearing, I'd like the utilities to go smooth when we get to budget hearings. I know it's an enterprise fund and it's all pretty cut and dry, but there's always room for, improvement.
But I just wanted to, and I totally concur with you, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate your leadership this past year on this committee. But I think, again, to all of us, during the budgetary process, which is going to be viewed by Channel 20, our city access channel, I think we all have to do a much better job, all the committee chairs, all the committee, of explaining the general fund to citizens. That became
agree.
very clear to me talking to people on Election Day on issue 38.
And the
a lot
difference,
of people, yeah,
and
a
the
lot of
difference between
people.
the enterprise and the general.
Yes, a lot of people just don't understand how the general fund is funded, how it operates, how it functions, and then again, as I try to explain, folks, the water department, WPC, airport, those are all separate. Those are enterprise funds. They're separate. They operate on the revenue that comes in from those. From you pay a water bill, that's how you
Stays with the water
right.
department.
So, but we have to do a much better job of explaining that to people than ever before, as I have learned on that election day. Yeah.
On that note as well.
Hey.
Great.
On
So
all
on that point to my honorable colleague, Councilman Plenzik, I was delighted to see, and I think many of us have been informed about it, but our colleague Charles Slife will be actually at the Happy Dog, which is in Ward 15, this coming Wednesday, to present the general budget along with CFO Abanama. So we have the administration and council coming together in an accessible setting to talk about the budget. So I'm delighted to see our colleague take leadership with that. And just, I hear you, I could not agree more with the statement you just made about we really need to do everything we can to help our residents understand how they can access their government, how taxpayer dollars are spent, and how the various aspects of the city are funded. So just wanted to, while we're all on TV 20 this morning, shout out Councilman Slife and also the administration for taking the budget on tour, the general fund budget on tour to the community this year. Hope we can continue.
Councilman Hirsch?
On
Thank
that
you.
point, have the TV 20 camera crews already left the building? Because I see now that we're at a wide shot. I bring this up, TV 20, if you're able to zoom in here, it would be helpful because, Mr. Chairman, there we go.
man,
All right,
there we
check
go.
this out. This is awesome. So what we could do, Mr. Chairman, at your request, is we could hold these committee hearings with a friend from the administration where we could actually explain these issues in somewhat precise detail to Councilman Polenzic's request, and then using the funds that we've already expended for TV 20 and the fact that YouTube is infinitely editable, we could just chop those up into 1 or 2 minute bits that we could then repost to our social media. We live in a very, 2 minute attention span society right now. But we could actually just explain to the people, directly to them out there, how the general fund works, how money is collected, how revenues are expended, and then have it on YouTube for us to dice up and put back out there. And we could do this at just the call of the chair with a little bit of a heads up presentation and using the resources that we already have at our disposal from the wonderful crews at TV 20.
I agree. So we can work on that, And also, for 2024, I want to remind everybody that the rate studies are currently being done, and they're going to be a very dicey subject in 2024, especially with Cleveland Public Power. Remember, we have not raised rates at Cleveland Public Power since the 80s. So we're taking a deep dive, hard look at rates for Cleveland Public Power, Water Pollution Control, and the Division of Water for next year. So on that, anything else?
No,
We're good?
I would just say that Jenny Spencer's comments and on Chris Hart. The only thing I'm disappointed is this, I guess this listening tour that they've embarked upon, the administration, is only targeting 4 locations in the city.
Oh, that's what I was talking to the
Yeah,
Director of
and-
Sustainability about.
And I don't get that. I mean, so you leave out whole sections of the city.
Well, if you're going to do it, they should do it 17 times.
That's exactly.
Take it to each one.
Exactly, Mr. Chairman. And for some reason, there's this mindset, not on the council side, but there's this mindset to only limit it to certain neighborhoods discussion, which I don't think is proper. I don't think it's wise. And and I think this, also CMSD did the same thing. The new CEO, this listening tour, left out whole sections of the city.
Well, and this would allow council members to actually explain the budget if they feel comfortable to their own residents.
And maybe how it relates to a given project or service in their own neighborhood.
Correct.
That's, I think, very important, but hopefully maybe the administration will take heed and understand the need to expand it to more areas of the city. So our citizens, they have a right to ask questions. They have a right to ask questions as to how city funds are being spent. And it's up to us, all of us, both the administration and council, to be able to explain greater than ever before how that takes place. Thank you.
I agree. All right, seeing that, for the year 2023, this Utilities Committee stands adjourned. We'll see you for the Utilities Committee in 2024. Thanks.